Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing? All right. Enjoying this chilly weather, fall weather, finally. Yep, this is my favorite weather too. I love the sweats and hoodie and jeans and a hoodie, and yep, don't get no better than that. Spring's pretty good too. Summer I can go without summer. I won't say I go without. I just don't like the heat. I don't like to sweat when I'm not unless I'm working out. So it's kind of the problem I have with that. Give it another minute or so, see if anybody else trickles in. All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for being on this morning. Um, I'm Jarvis Dolman, Director of Operations for Childcare Licensing with KDHE. We'll just go ahead and get started right into the agenda today. So I'll just read off what we're going to be going over today. I'm excited about our meeting, especially our group discussion um, and getting you all's input on things. But we'll talk a little bit about childcare licensing and early childhood system updates. We'll check with you all to see if you all have any updates on anything going around in your area. We'll talk a little bit about wrapping up the information we got from the roundtables, the regional roundtables that we held earlier in the year, and then we'll go into our group discussion about how we want to go forward with the work groups and how we want to go about divvying up work or what we want to look at through this next session. So. Right. First update here. I'm not sure if how many people saw, but we just wanted to point this out through the Kansas State Child Care Death Review Board. Their annual report was released early this month, or might have been early this month or late last month. One of the legislative priorities on there we just wanted to point out and it came off the back of the House Bill 2045, but they're looking at requiring licensing for all home-based childcare providers and to establish stricter penalties for non-compliance. So we just wanted to throw that out there that is a thing. I think obviously there is some concern about the changes in the House bill. So I think there's some pushes to go forward and try to make a difference there where the changes were made in the House bill. So just wanted to throw that out there. We will look to put a link to that report so you all can read it in its entirety. But just wanted to throw that out there for you all. All right, I'll throw it over to Megan to talk about childcare zones.
Good morning, everyone. So I'm really excited to share a couple updates about our childcare zones. As a reminder, this is a KDHE-led project through Kansas's Preschool Development Grant, federal funds. It's grant-funded initiatives, and it requires two or more counties to come together to address local childcare needs. It's very locally driven. It's kind of modeled after KDHE's aid to local model that they've done with some other programs. And so we talked a little bit last time about how four grantees started their work over the summer. We just had three new grantees start this over the last month. And so I'm going to share a map in just a minute, just so you kind of know where these projects are happening. We are working on a project overview so that people can like follow along a little bit. We kind of want to give you like a high level sense of what each community is working on. Not surprising, but like workforce recruitment and retention is a really common theme. Employer involving employers and like family friendly workplaces, looking at how to work with families to understand like are there like adequate options that meet their needs. There's a lot around quality, and like one is creating like a lending library for local providers and doing some new training and professional development, substitute pools. So um, a lot of things that I think we've seen tested in different communities, but each site is kind of putting their own spin on it. So we wanted to share this map with you just so you could kind of know, particularly if you work in any of these counties, we would love for you to reach out and just be aware of what's going on. If you don't have contacts with these lead organizations in bold, please reach out to me or Jennifer Burgart's on the call, and she works really closely with them as well. And again, we'll share a little bit more about like what is specifically happening with each community very soon. So these grants run through the end of next September. So they're pretty quick, but people are really diving in and already, I think, starting to see some impact unfolding in their areas. So, Jen, I'm going to put you on the spot and see if there's anything else that you want to add on the childcare zones.
There we go. Sorry, I multitasking. You caught me. Something we're all guilty of, I'm sure. No, Megan Gray gave a great highlight, here in the upcoming weeks and months as we onboard our additional grantees that Megan mentioned and kind of get them acquainted with the first cohort of grantees. Then we'll start beginning to kind of introduce their projects and their work a little more deeply through some different channels we've discussed, some that I'm sure you're all aware of and connected to. So, namely, All In for Kansas Kids here at KDHE licensing as well. So, I will just add one thing that I think resonates right now for just kind of a positive push into discussions we might have today is just the just and collaboration. That word is used a lot, but I in these particular parts of our state there just really seems to be this mindset of no boundaries. They're really addressing some barriers that they've had in the past and just looking for some new and innovative ways to overcome those. Around all areas, but particularly just engaging their communities around childcare and how important it is to their community, and really trying to create that culture shift to, just make it a priority, just like, housing might be a priority in their community. There's been in these communities, I've known them for a while, in their work. They've had a lot of momentum building in the last 4 or 5 years, and it just seems like they're really at that pivotal point where they're really ready to like take the next action of, some sustainable and just very innovative ideas in addressing their challenges that are uniquely theirs in their communities and regions. So, just wanted to put that little plug in.
Thank you, Jennifer. So yeah, if anybody has questions, feel free to reach out to either of us. We get the pleasure of talking with these communities regularly. And again, like I think they hopefully are connected with, I know some of them are connected with some of you already, but again, if you are working in any of these areas and you're saying, oh, I didn't know about that, like this would be a really great time to connect with them and see where there might be some opportunities because these are extremely collaborative grants. And we really want them to, one of the big asks for the grants is for them to be thinking about how to sustain this work beyond the grant period. So I think collaboration and ensuring really strong connections with our early childhood system, with childcare licensing, with all the other organizations that support at the community level is really critical to that. So, right. Right.
Well, all right. Moving on to our next portion here. We just want to check with everyone to see what you all have going in your area. So, yeah, any bright spots people have from the last time we met? Any work you want to share that you're doing that you're hearing about? I think this is a good time to do that, and helps bring ideas for other people, and we can share what you all have going on, and that may be a help for another community. So we'll just take some time here and let you all come off mute and share what you got going on.
Hi, this is Dana from Hayes, Northwest Kansas. This is a sad spot and a bright spot. I don't know, people around the state maybe know that we had a police officer that was killed in the line of duty, which is horrible. What a lot of people don't know is that his wife is a family child care home provider in Hayes. So obviously that was very sad. But what was to me very, very moving is that we coordinated a fundraiser for this for the wife of the gentleman who was killed, and we raised quite a bit of money for her. And it wasn't just providers from Hayes; it was providers from all over Northwest Kansas, centers, family home providers. Some might give $200, some gave $10, and most of them didn't even know this young lady. It was really touching how the child care community came together and supported one of their own in our part of the world. So it was a sad thing, but I was really gratified to see how strongly our child care community came up. There were people from KDHE, lots of people, child care wear that donated as well. So it was very, very, very touching in a hard time. So.
I'll share a little something. A couple of weeks ago, I don't know if it's a bright spot, but I thought it was a good opportunity. I went to a economic meeting here in Shawnee County, and I'm really trying to step outside of my comfort zone as it relates to childcare and economics. So I've been really trying to push anyone I talk to kind of, speak more with those that are involved in economics, because I don't think they're usually involved in those things. And so I went to the meeting, and it was a conference. A lot of this stuff was over my head, but basically it was the conference was to show kind of what's on the horizon for the community, kind of where dollars are being thinking about being spent within the community. And so it was good to see, kind of what they were planning on. There wasn't a lot of childcare talked about, but at the end of the presentations, you had a chance to ask questions to the presenters. And one question I asked the individual was, with how important childcare is to the community and how it plays a large part in the economy. I said, how can businesses play a part in helping with the disparities for childcare providers? And the presenter didn't have a did not have a good answer. And so I was disappointed in that. I was also excited about that, because that just goes to show that there's opportunity there for us to get in these spaces and, to make connections. Because for him to not have any, to be able to formulate a, really good answer, I thought that showed we can make some differences in getting in these different rooms. So I just wanted to share that. If anybody's, looking to get in the economic side of, helping us out that way. So.
Jarvis, I'll throw out my organization, the Innovation Center, is a regional economic development organization. So that's all we do is economic development. And we've been able to do some training. We spoke at conferences, economic development conferences, about the importance of childcare to economic development. Because if you don't have childcare, you probably can't get that nurse to come into town or that principal. So it's a really great link. It's not like you said, at the beginning, you think that's not a natural fit, but it very much is. And most of the Eco Devo guys that I talk to are very eager to learn about ways that they can help with childcare.
Lori, I saw your hand go up. Did you have something to share?
Yes, Lori Lanter, I'm in Wyandotte County Child Care Licensing. We are working with our community development folks at the Unified Government on a grant and providing some support and guidance to them that they are trying to build capacity in family child care home and also in small centers. So we're just kind of working with them to try to get some funds out to. The only limit to that is it will be specific to KCK and not to our entire county, but hey, we'll take any little bit to build.
Hey guys, Derek here. I did want to share, I had an opportunity to present at the Governor's Conference on Aging what was it, that past Friday, I think it was, last Friday. And going to do a cool presentation, sort of had three of us up there on stage talking about intergenerational care, which is really close to my heart. Used to work in long-term care, and so anytime you can blend that with childcare and with healthcare. It kind of just blends all my passions together. But we had myself giving the presentation from sort of the state licensing perspective, also threw in some kind of recruiting and retention concepts there as well. To Dana's point about also, it's also a potential solution for trying to recruit and retain healthcare professionals too, especially to rural communities. So I think I've said this on this call before, but I see the lack of healthcare staff, again, especially in rural communities, or the need for healthcare staff in the same way as childcare. So trying to recruit those providers to stay in the communities that they're in, or to move to those communities. So it was a really good presentation. I had Erin Steele. She's the operator at Heritage Home in Alma. She's awesome. I've seen her facility. It's really, really cool. They have a childcare center on one wing, and then on the other two wings, they operate separate home pluses, which is a provider type essentially in long-term care. And then Teresa McComb. Dana, I don't know if you know Teresa up there in Logan, but the Logan, oh, I'm going to get it wrong. Logan Life Center, I believe it's called, but it's an early, it's like a K through 12 setting. It's not licensed by KDHE, because it's education setting. Sorry, it's a K through 12 setting, a public school basically. But they also have residents that live on site as well. And so it was a really, really cool opportunity. We had a lot of folks attend our session. We were in the main banquet hall, so that was a good sign on the importance of that. And just got to share kind of some innovative ideas. I'm always pushing for that too. If you all weren't aware, Leading Age Kansas supported and tried to get a bill passed this last legislative session that would have created the Intergenerational Care Pilot Fund. And the bill actually would have given the funds to KDHE to grant out for the purpose of creating intergenerational care. I had the opportunity to testify in support of that bill. Ultimately, it didn't pass, but it sounds like there may be some interest in this next legislative session. So hopeful for that, but thought I would just share. It was a very good time and very well attended conference. So.
Anybody got anything else they want to share? Right, I think we can go on to the next slide. Okay, just a little update. I know we talked last month about the regional roundtables and kind of how we wanted to get that information out. But yeah, we will be planning on sending out a summary to all the attendees who came to the roundtables, just to give them, we want to get back with them and let them know update and kind of what we're planning on doing and thanking them for attending. So we'll be doing that here pretty soon. Then also just wanting to remind everyone that we do have the ongoing feedback loop within KDHE for licensing. We can provide that link for everyone, but yeah, it's just the open link for anybody that wants to submit feedback on regulations. A lot of it's tied towards regulations, but it really could be for anything. So we'll make sure to give that resource so everybody knows how to do that. All right. So yeah, we want to get into our work and start talking about the proposed work groups we're wanting to get into. We are planning on starting the work groups next month. We were trying to decide if we wanted to, send out what we were thinking in email and plan on doing the work groups this month, but felt like it'd be a good opportunity for us to get on and kind of talk about what we came up with to get everybody's thoughts on what we came up with. So the work groups are a chance for us to improve the experiences for providers and parents and families, and really anybody involved that has an interest in early childhood and within licensing. And also that can include the regulatory opportunities, strengthening communications and awareness. I know, like I said, the last year or so, it's really been a year or two, it's been really tied to regulations because of the large overhaul we had. But I think it's a good time now to kind of reset and think about what other ways, we can advance the licensing program. So these are a few of the topics we came up with for work groups. I think this first one is really important, obviously, with the House bill that passed. I think this is a really good time to talk about how we can be better at promoting and like or marketing licensed care. Um, I'm not sure how it's been done in the past or how much we've put towards that, but I think we have a lot of opportunity right now, and no time better than now than to really push this work here. But these are just kind of some of the different things we talked about within this idea. So, developing language for KDHE to share with providers about benefits of being licensed. Um, right now, we are trying to track numbers of, who's closing due to the change in requirements. Haven't got a good handle on that yet, but it seems we haven't lost too many tied to that. The survey we send out for our closure notifications, we put on there um, trying to get data if they are closing due to the changes in the regulations. We haven't seen a lot of that yet, but that doesn't mean that that's not happening. Just discuss strategies to increase outreach with our Child Care Matters campaign that we put on in the past. Have another one going, and we just want to see if there's changes and tweaks we can make to that to make it more relevant to what we're dealing with now. And then developing language for the All In for Kansas Kids family page, and how people can decide if licensed care is a good fit for them. Again, I think all these things we're showing here are just very important, kind of where we sit right now and how things are changing in the landscape of with licensing. Really good chance for us to put out some good material and do some outreach. So that's one of the areas there. Prayer strategies to retain child care facilities. So we put a lot of emphasis on recruiting, I feel like, but I feel like there's some opportunities too here to talk about retaining child care facilities. I know one thing that comes to mind for our program is, we have a lot of facilities that maybe have compliance issues and things of that nature. Trying to figure out how we can be more supportive of those facilities, how we can ensure they're getting the services they need. So I think this is good work for that. And again, kind of that last point there, consider how to strengthen those cross connections across the system to ensure, no, we got support for new and current facilities. I think that's really important. If we can keep our current facilities open, I think we need to put that focus on both of those, keeping them open and also, bringing in new ones. And I think that will help, our system out as a whole. So the next one, you want to go, okay, okay, innovative childcare model. So again, Derek talked a little bit about, the intergenerational care. So we just wanted to talk about those things. We got um, the our I'm about losing train of thought here. Our small center pilot, sorry, got our small center pilot. We just want to try to figure out different ways to come up with some different ideas for different cares of models of care. Want to be innovative in what we can do, and so those are the topics we've come up with. If anybody's got anything they want to share or add to those, this is kind of the time for that. We wanted to get you all's feedback. And if there's something we're missing, or if there's a topic that's really, really been on your mind that we can tackle, we want to hear those things too. So,
I'm sorry, we're having a little slight issue with that one, but just to add to what Jarvis said for the innovative models, I think it was looking at intergenerational. I think also just looking at there's some really interesting models that are come out of recent funding, like with the Child Care Capacity Accelerator, the Capital Projects Fund, and then even the child care zones. Like for example, I know there's a site that's working on like 24/7 care, and so looking at like what's promising about those, and I think also where are we learning about like what might be licensing opportunities and barriers that people like, and kind of how communities navigated that. So certainly like many of us are really plugged into those projects and can help bring in some information to kind of help guide those discussions. But it seems like an opportunity to kind of, there's a lot of really cool innovation happening at the local level, and just looking at where there are opportunities to make that a little bit more make communities think about all of the possibilities that might exist for childcare. So sorry about not having the slide on that, but hopefully that filled in the content. Okay. Okay. Jarvis, I don't know if you saw Lori's question. about the small center pilots and just if there's
Yeah,
any.
Laura, we did get they sent a update on that and kind of what came out of that. We still need to go back and do some digging in that and, look at kind of the data we have and how we can move forward with that. So yeah, we haven't got a chance to dig into that yet, but that is definitely on our plate to do.
I was going to mention too, Jarvis, on that. The final report, I mean, I think it's pretty clear. We wanted to cement it as a license type.
Mhm.
It's just the process of getting that as a formal license type with the implementation and transition to the Office of Early Childhood and then our new system and all that lovely stuff. You guys can probably imagine like trying to formalize a license type is not as simple as just snapping our fingers and saying something is now a license type. But having the ability to do pilots is a little bit easier because we can do regulation exceptions. There we go. And my gosh, now we can do some statutory waivers as well. So, and I was skipping through here. I know Melissa Schoenberger, who's with the cabinet now, but used to be with KDHE, is very familiar with the small center pilot too. So we saw some awesome things come from it.
I would echo that, Derek, as you all are continuing to evolve, that I see Amanda Peterson on, and I always think about, the preschool pilot at KSD. There's no harm in continuing to pilot for a while as you continue to learn, because it's evolving, right? It was a one facility, and now it's looking at what does this look like to move a small center unit within a larger facility, and to really engage capacity and workforce. Is it a game changer for our larger facilities where there's the ability to collapse theoretically during the day with workforce shortages and whatnot? So even though that initial study was done through KU, there's still an evolution. And that House Bill 2045 really adds an opportunity for licensing to stretch some boundaries, as long as we stay within the confounds of health and safety requirements for CCDF. There's still some lessons to be learned, I think, and I wouldn't rush a pilot while we're still, what I like to say, listening and learning at the community level.
Yep. Dan, I wanted to answer your question there. I see Derek through answer there. Yeah, we did do a social media post a few weeks ago, with DCF. I think that's one of the exciting things. I think promoting that the value of licensed care, not just for unlicensed childcare providers, but I think for communities as a whole. I think obviously with DCF, there's things you get from that. It's not just about the regulations, but there's subsidies you get with that. There's help, not just for providers, but for the families they're serving. And that plays a major impact for our community as well. So I think the importance of licensed childcare is something we can push to the entire community and have it be just a big push. And obviously we'll have to figure out how we talk to those specific groups, but I think that message in itself, just as a whole, is important to all of them, anyone interested in childcare. So, and again, yeah, Dana, our Bethany, you mentioned childcare aware. I think that's a good thing too. It's going to be beneficial for us to have those to show that we're collaborating for communities and for the state to see, that we work with all of these different agencies, how well we can work together, and showing us being on one page, having that same message.
Yeah, the bill itself didn't change the importance of being licensed. There's, remains no avenue to accessing child care assistance funds at this moment without it, really. So, those are future conversations for sure. But I think Dana kind of said it all. We know license is an indicator of quality. And Melissa would tell me consumer protection and whatever else I've learned with the program in the last 3 years. So I know as a parent, I want to know that the provider love her to death, but I want to know that she's, she's being monitored a little bit and meeting those standards. When I send my now infant and my toddler to somebody that's not a stranger anymore, but maybe at one point was, for 8 to 10 hours a day. So there you go.
Yeah, these are great questions, and I think there's a reason it said possible work on each of the work groups. Those are really intended to be starting points. I think those are needs that we see, but certainly you all are out in the field, and so if there's something that kind of falls in that general category that you want to bring up, when we start meeting next month, usually we just kind of, do introductions and kind of like spend the first meeting time throwing all of our ideas on the virtual board, and kind of deciding like what feels like kind of the right level of effort to impact. So that's what we'll do in November. Our next steps, kind of a little bit shorter meeting today, so that we can get a form out to you all for you to be able to say your top two choices. And the reason we do that is just so we can have fairly balanced groups. We will do our best to get you in your top choice, but chance you might be in your second choice. And then we will come together as a full group starting next month. And then during our meeting time, we'll allow for time for, 45 minutes to an hour for breakout discussion in those work groups. And I'm going to follow a model that Melissa Schoenberger has put into place with the recommendations panel. So for anybody who was watching that meeting on Friday, this process might look a little familiar, but of really, I know it can be challenging when people are like, I want to be in 3 work groups at once. And unfortunately, that is not necessarily possible, but we really want to make sure that everybody kind of knows what the work groups are talking about, and that everybody has an opportunity to play an active role. So throughout the meetings will kind of have a way for everybody to follow along with the other work groups on a monthly basis so that you can provide feedback or say, hey, I know somebody in my community that might be able to come speak to that or whatever. We want to make sure that everybody feels like they're part of the work, even if they're not officially part of the work group. So that will be our plan starting next month. And then Jarvis spoke to this a little bit, but sometimes people wonder like what's the expected outcome of being in a work group. And in the past, we've done a lot of recommendations to childcare licensing. That is certainly one path forward. But it might, it kind of will, you'll have a facilitator to help you along. It might end up being just like, I need more information to help connect some dots in the system. So I think recommendation sometimes feels really formal, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that, but it certainly could be if that feels like the right step. So we'll have some templates, and you'll have help from a facilitator to kind of help the group figure out what the right outcome is. But we want to make sure to give you all a few months to really be able to have some time and space to sit with these topics and think about like how can we make some positive change in childcare in Kansas. Are there any questions about the groups or are there any like key things people feel like they want to make sure are included? I know Jarvis said at the beginning, like, obviously there is not a group specifically calling out regulations, but I think regulatory pieces certainly are like fair game for all of these work groups. So if you're feeling like I'm not sure where I saw that, it's because we really want it to be threaded throughout all the topics. Okay. Does this feel like generally the right path forward for the group? Okay. Anil, go ahead.
What I was trying to do was find the thumbs up, which I didn't. I found my hands. So
You got the technically I think your thumb is part of your hand, so I think you
there
got
we
it.
go.
You
Yeah,
got
sounds
5
good.
fingers up. Perfect. Well, thank you. I appreciate that feedback. Okay. Well, I think we're just gonna have a short meeting today, which usually people aren't too upset by. Unless there's Jarvis or Derek or anybody else, have any final thoughts before we wrap up today?
Nothing big. I just want to say I know I've been in this position 3 years, and as many of you know, it takes a lot to understand like what's going on in meetings. We got different work groups, recommendations panel. We got, our group here. There's just several different work groups going on, and when I finally figured out, what the purpose of this group was, I was excited to know that, you know, being a director in this program doesn't mean I have to, I got a group to help come up with ideas and certain things. And so I just want to say that when I finally learned what this group was, I kind of fell in love with it. And I just want to make sure you all know that, whatever you have, whatever recommendations or suggestions you have for our program, feel free to throw them out there. And I'm just excited to get to work on this next round of work groups. So if you guys got any questions or anything you want to see from us, just let us know.
Okay. Thank you all. Enjoy the fall weather, and we will see you in mid-November. We appreciate your time.
Have a good day, everybody.